Sunday morning cold, eyes on the score, touchdown dance ball, craving for more. Friends are calling, trades are on fire. Rookies falling, championship desire. Fantasy football fever, chasing the dream. Top of the leaderboard, we're the winning team.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Healers program. We made it through Friday the 13th, and now we're entering Father's Day weekend. Happy Father's Day to everybody that's out there. We've got another exciting podcast ahead of us here. I'm your host, Dustin Brown, and let's bring in our guest.
Hey, we have a special guest. He is a guy that excels in the fantasy space. The Excel genius. Integrating spreadsheets to find the best quarterback prospects of our time. Microsoft, more like Microstrong. Let's bring in Zach with Breaking the Quarterback Code. You can find him at Tier 1 QB on Twitter X. Also, find him at thefantasyholics.com at FantasyHolics1 on Twitter X.
Welcome back, Zach.
Dude, your intros cracked me up, man. I think if this fantasy doesn't work out for you, I think you'll have a career in making intros for people, man. That's great.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I have a lot of fun making them. So we had you on, I don't know, it's been a couple months now. It was the pre-draft process of your quarterback model. I wanted to give you an opportunity to come back and basically share the quarterbacks from this class, along with a lot of other content, and show what you're doing there with the Fantasy Holics. Before we get into some of that, so I'm going to tease it just a little bit, I'd like to get into the news here first. Zach, I've got to start with some Vikings news first, and it's really minor news, but Adrian Peterson has returned to the Vikings, but now as an assistant coach. We could probably use him as a running back also, but I won't get into that too much. But greatest comeback in NFL history, in my opinion, after tearing an ACL and an MCL in 2011, and then coming back and winning the league's MVP in 2012. What do you think about this news?
It's definitely breaking news to me because I don't follow every news bit that comes out here. But yeah, it's fitting for him, and I'm glad he's back in football.
He never wanted to coach in the past, so it's really interesting to me that he came back as an assistant coach. I tried looking into it to see, what type of assistant coach. I suspect running back coach, but
you would think
nothing specific yet.
Yeah, those that can't do teach, but he can do so.
Yep. Speaking of older players, Tom Brady's been in the news, but not so much for what he's doing in the NFL, but what he's going to do to expand the UFL. The UFL is looking to expand to 12 teams next year, and Tom Brady wants to be an owner for the Tampa Bay Bandits.
Okay.
I don't know if you follow the UFL at all.
I thought he was with the Raiders, but
yeah, he's partial owner to the Raiders for the NFL, but for the UFL, Tampa Bay Bandits is what he wants to bring to town.
All right, more power to him.
John U. Smith, there's some rumors about him being traded. He now has permission to be traded by the team. There's been a lot of rumors circulating about Arthur Smith bringing either John U. Smith or Kyle Pitts to the Steelers. What do you think about either one of those two tight ends matching up with Arthur Smith and the Steelers offense?
Yeah, I'll wait and see what happens. But if it's anything like the past, I think Rodgers is going to bring in any of his buddies. So it could be anybody at this point.
Well, I think Robert Tonyan's now with the Kansas City Chiefs. You'll have to wait till after training camp for him to be dropped from the Chiefs in order for him to get picked up by the Steelers.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe Mercedes Lewis is available.
He's getting older now, isn't he? How old is he?
45, I think.
He's 45. Oh my God.
He was in the league when he was like 42, 43 years old. J.K. Dobbins signs with the Broncos. 1 year, $5.25 million. Now providing an RB2 for the Broncos and what can be a very explosive offense.
No, that actually makes sense. RJ Harvey, I don't think was a bell cow type style running back, but having J.K. Dobbins coming in as the veteran to help out, I think that'll definitely share the workload, and I think that'll be a benefit for actually both of them.
I agree 100%. I think it's a great football move. I think it's a great move for both Dobbins and hopefully keeping Harvey healthy throughout the year too, because we've seen that a lot of these teams are going to a 2 running back approach. Unless you're the Saints. The Saints seem like they need to continue to get more and more running backs in the backfield behind Kamara, and they've added another running back in Cam Akers. He signed a 1-year contract with the Saints, at least until the Vikings decide they need to trade for Cam Akers again for a 3rd year in a row.
I don't know. I keep forgetting that he's in the league. So I used to have him on my teams a long time ago, and I've moved him multiple times. I bring him back and I move him. But I'm still rooting for the guy. He's very explosive when he can do it, but that's another wait and see. And he's on it's Kamara's team.
Yep.
So
well, Akers and Dobbins, they both came out in the same draft class, and they both came out at a fairly young age, but both have just been injury hampered.
What year was
that? I don't quite remember the year on top of my head, to be honest. I think it was like 2018 or so. Like it had to have been around like 2018, 2019.
See, that's ancient for RB ages.
Speaking of ancient RB ages, Nick Chubb signs with the Texans. $2.5 million signing, up to a $5 million with incentives. This really shakes up and rattles up the Texans backfield with Mixon. And only about a week or two ago, there was some news that came out that Mixon was in a walking boot. He was still having some problems with his ankle. So what do you think about Nick Chubb? Do you think he still has any juice left in him?
Is it 2 years removed from the injury, right?
The 2 years, yes.
2 years.
Still near it.
Well, he's old and he's had an injury, so it's hard for that profile of a running back to get back into things. But I think he'll be a filler every so often. They have the young kid Woody that they drafted. I think he'll have less touches than Mixon.
I think he could be a dart throw, Chubb. Yeah. Just have him on the back of your bench in like a dynasty league and have him as a just in case. I think he's a guy that at least really works hard to get back in shape. So I feel like the work ethic is there. And as long as he can push through the line, I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, that injury was just so bad. I'm actually shocked he's back in the league. So I thought that was a career ender after I heard about it.
We were just talking about Adrian Peterson, with maybe the best comeback in NFL history. If Nick Chubb comes back and leads the league in rushing in 2025, like that would definitely have to beat out Adrian.
Well, I think that's why AP's back in the league now. He's going to prevent that from happening.
Adrian Peterson's actually going to be coming back. He's going to
be whispering to the other team, they don't put him in.
And he doesn't count for a roster spot either, so it's like a win-win situation. Aaron Rodgers, he signs with the Steelers. We kind of hinted at that a bit ago. They've been going back and forth with this for what seems like months now, but Aaron, he's finally with the Steelers.
It wouldn't be an off season without a little drama from Rodgers. So this was expected. I think we all knew it. It was just wind.
I was kind of hoping for Mason Rudolph to actually come into the season and be the starter. Personally, I think people were poo-pooing him a little too much when he had an opportunity to play with the Titans last year. I felt like Mason actually played pretty well.
Yeah, he was on the Steelers before, right?
Yeah, he was drafted by the Steelers.
Yeah. So no, I'll have to be Team Rodgers. He didn't do terrible last year, but yeah, he's going to. Yeah, he'll be mediocre, just like what the Steelers have been for the last 10 years or so.
10 years.
There's nothing they're not bad. They're not great. They're right there. They're going to get the job done, get to the playoffs, and then see you next year.
Yep. Well, what's going to be fun to watch is week 1 when Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers play against the Jets and Justin Fields. These teams have just flip-flopped their quarterbacks this past season, and so look for that at week 1 of the NFL schedule.
Yeah, that's marketing at its finest. So well done, NFL. So I want to know how I want to know Rodgers versus Arthur Smith. I want to know, like, how he loves running the ball. Like, what's going to happen? I want to see that clash. So I think that'll be the best drama of the year. It's going to be between those two.
Well, who's Rodgers going to throw to outside of DK? That's what I want to know. I mean, there's DK and there's Fairmouth, and Rodgers is kind of hit and miss when it comes to throwing to the tight end.
Yeah, that's why earlier when we were saying Pitts and Johnny like coming out there, like I don't know, I'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I still have a candle lit for Roman Wilson. I really am hoping that he can make a bounce back. Last year he was injury riddled and didn't get an opportunity to be on the field. And can this be his year?
Is that their number 2?
Well, or Calvin Austin.
Yeah. Well, he was always
Calvin Austin's more of a burner.
Yeah.
So my bet's on Roman Wilson. Unless actually, some breaking news here. There was some news late yesterday that Aaron Rodgers is trying to bring in Amari Cooper.
Oh.
So that could be an alternative option there for the Steelers. And so if he's there sitting on your waiver wire because someone tossed him off to the side for the rookie drafts, he might be one to pick up with an opportunity at hand.
No, I'll keep an eye out for that. And thanks for the tip. That'll keep me one step ahead of you.
Yep, that's the old fantasy football healers tip there. That's why you're listening in, and that's why you're on the show here too, Zach. Rashad Bateman, he signs a 3-year contract extension worth up to about almost $37 million. And so Bateman, he played really quite well last year, but there's so many mouths to feed with this Baltimore offense.
No, I think his issue is just injuries. Like as soon as he starts exploding on the field and doing great, then he's out a few games and loses that momentum.
Yep, I've got just a couple other bits of news here. Sorry, Colton, but Anthony Richardson has already been injured again. He had the AC injury that has been re-aggravated. He should have had surgery about 2 years ago, decided not to have surgery, but yet he's now getting already a second opinion on what he should be doing for his shoulder. So I think we all know who the starting quarterback is going to be at the start of the season. That's going to be Indiana Jones. That's right, Colton. Indiana Jones. Prepare.
26 already.
Yep. They could have an early round pick depending on how this season goes. So we I don't know if you've heard, I'm sure you have, you're a Washington Commanders fan. Noah Brown, wide receiver. I think he was the wide receiver 3 on the team. He was carted off this past Wednesday with what sounded like a pretty brutal injury.
I haven't been keeping up with any of this news. So this is news to me here. So the reaction on my face, you can tell.
Well, you know what's going to happen. Jalen Lane, baby. Jalen Lane.
I know you were a huge fan of him coming out of the draft. And you sat next to his parents, right?
Not far away from him. And I think I had him as my number. Did I have him as number 10 or did I have him as
you had him up there. I think it might have been an honorable mention or something.
Maybe it was an honorable mention. I think he was my sleeper wide receiver to watch.
I don't know. I've been trying to trade him to you, but you don't want any of that. So
just waiting for you to drop him, and then that's all it's going to take. Well, I'm kind of loaded in that league, so it's going to be hard for me to make a move for Jalen Lane. But I'm rooting for him regardless of whether he's on my team or not. So. One last bit of news, and then I'd love to hear more about your quarterback tiering system. This one's really crazy. This one's a really crazy news article here. We've got Antonio Brown made the news. He punched a man, stole the security guard's gun, shot at this guy that was at a celebrity boxing match about a month ago, and now he has a warrant out for murder.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
That's a normal day in AB's world. So I don't know if I'm shocked by it or if I'm just, you know what? This is normal. If you follow him on Twitter or X, yeah, you would think that this was normal behavior for him.
Just nuts. It's just he just I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that article, to be honest. It's just a lot coming at you. So Zach, again, we're welcoming you back here. We did the pre-draft process with your quarterback ranking system. I wanted to give you an opportunity to review your rookie quarterbacks from this year with Draft Capital, and now with the Fantasy Football Holics. You've updated how your model is being presented to us, and we're going to share it for the first time here on the Fantasy Football Healers program. So be tuned in on YouTube if you're listening to us on podcasts. Check us out at FF Healers on YouTube. So that way you can actually come in and see his model here on this podcast feed. Or if you want to see it directly, don't forget to follow Zach at Tier 1 QB on Twitter X as well.
So yeah, Cam Ward, he was my number one quarterback coming out of college last year. And one thing I do pride my model on is that I like to get my rankings out as soon as the college season's over, so that way it doesn't look like I'm just copying and pasting over everyone else's work. I like to get it out first and for everyone to see. But yeah, Cam Ward was my number one. There was a lot of argument between him and Shadur on who was the number one, and I've known since early January that it was going to be Cam Ward, and as we all found out later on, yeah, he was the number one overall pick taken in the NFL draft, and proved my model to be correct again on that aspect. But yeah, Cam Ward, great stats. As you can see, he has an elite passing profile of 115.7. This is out of a max of 121 points that I've given the players. I like to call that my lightning score. That's 1.21 gigawatts for any of you Back to the Future fans out there.
1.21 gigawatts of electricity. 1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts!
But I've capped it out at 121 here, so you can see his elite passing score.
So when you saw that he hit the elite in the passing score with 115, did you go, "Great Scott"?
I should have. I will from now on though. That'll be it. So
it's the elite tier, automatic. Great Scott.
Great Scott. I'm hoping we have a Scott come out in the next few years that hits 121.
That would be perfect. And then if they're in the low tier, you've got to go McFly. Hello, McFly.
No, but yeah, 115.7 passing score, and that's based off of his passing score from his entire collegiate season. So you can kind of see in the advanced passing on the right there. His first season of 75 points, 121 for his second year, which was elite. 2 not so good years, and then another great final season. So that 108.8 was actually, it's a great season, was an elite season, and that's why he is a tier 2 quarterback and not a tier 1 quarterback. Despite his passing score being elite, you need to play elite or not elite. You gotta show your progression the entire season and end up on the top, because that's what transfers over to the NFL. But no, he's definitely ready for the NFL. He's ready to start. You can see his mobility score as well. 74.5 is a great score. This is not just his rushing; it's his mobility in the pocket and his scrambling. So he is able to get that done as well, and that helps open up the passing game too. So
it looks like Cam Ward is probably going to be the starter for the Titans also, being a 101 quarterback.
I don't think it's going to be Will Levis.
I'm surprised Will Levis is still on the team, to be honest. I'm surprised they didn't trade him away. But now there's no suitors.
Yeah, well, it's like it's draft night all over. He's just sitting there in that draft room waiting for his chance. He's gonna be sitting there like that till the end of his contract.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Poor guy. But no, it's the mobility opens up the passing game, and yeah, I know Cam Ward, you can safely take him in your rookie drafts. I wouldn't think twice about it. But
What I like about this doc is that it really pops on the page with the green color. Really shows where your eyes should be looking here on the screen, with how you said the top left there with the passing score, the mobility score. You can see some of the points there at the top, your tier system, and then you're just starting to get into the drafting. And I'll have you keep talking about that there, but you can see those dynamics on your page here at the bottom right hand side.
Yeah, no, I do need to give a shout out real quick here since you're mentioning the design. So this is all my data, but it is from Fantasy Holics Jay. I'd like to give a shout out to Jay for creating this this lovely looking spreadsheet here. So it just everything, it does, everything pops out, and your eyes focus on what needs to be looked at. But no, thanks to Jay for that.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Oh yeah, no, I love this thing. This is I've had my you've seen my other models and my other profiles, and yeah, it's just so much data, and Jay was able to find a way just to bring all that data together to be able to focus on what should be focused on by the viewers, and makes it easier to know who to draft and what to look at.
And then also, what I also like about this page too is not only is there a lot of stats here, but player comps. Who doesn't like a good player comp? You want to talk a little bit about the player comps that you have here for Cam Ward?
Yeah, so how my model works with the player comp, it pulls the closest quarterback to each of these scores. So like the passer rating, Baker Mayfield, elite in college. He was great, one of the best passers coming out of college here. But that's his score is very similar to Cam Moore's score. So that's one of the reasons why you should be excited if you're going to be able to draft him this year. Deshaun Kaiser for rushing. That's a great score. Deshaun Kaiser doesn't really pop off as you're thinking about for quarterback, but hey, that's the style rushing. He's more of a pocket passer anyways.
There's some people that had candles lit for Kaiser with the Browns when he got drafted.
Yeah, well, to the Browns is the key.
They were blown out very quick.
We'll leave it at that. Yeah. And then overall score similar to Jared Goff, so 96.6, which is a tier 2. So Goff, yeah, he was solid coming out of college. I think he's done better moving teams here, but I think overall with this passing score that I think Cam Ward is going to be a lot more ready for the NFL, and is going to do great things for the Titans. So if I was a Titans fan, then I'd be very happy with this pick. They didn't blow it. It's not very often that you see the 101 actually be the correct move, and I guess we'll come back to this next year to see.
We'll definitely have to take a peek at it.
We'll have to revisit that, but my model's been fairly accurate when it comes to these the top QBs in the draft here. So, but yeah, be excited, Titan fans.
So later on in the draft, Jackson Dart was drafted. Some thought maybe it was a reach for the Giants to trade back in to draft him. They have a couple quarterbacks right now with Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and then they still have Tommy DeVito and Jackson Dart. He's also kind of, he gets drafted as a late first-round pick in this year's NFL draft. Do you feel like it was worth the pick for the Giants? And tell us a little bit about how your model sees him.
Yeah, I would have tried to trade it back up in the second to get him. It would have cost him a lot less, but he was their guy, and that's who they wanted. So it's a late first, not a terrible move, not the greatest move, but it is what it is. Dart, his profile, you can see, is kind of all over the place and inconsistent passing. And if you compare that score to his passing scores for his entire collegiate year, everything was inconsistent and lower. So he didn't even hit the solid passing rate, which would have been 68.8 for any of his seasons. So that's the one thing that scares me about him. It's just the inconsistency. It's the upside when it comes to fantasy here. So he's in my tier 5, which is just your mediocre quarterbacks. He's your going to do enough to keep your job quarterback, but not good enough that the fans are going to hate you because you're not leading them to the Super Bowls and fantasy teams getting those top points here. Jackson Dart, he'll be a good filler for you for bye weeks. I wouldn't overreach for him. he's going to be more of a late value pick if you can get him at the right spot. But where he's going in most drafts, I think it's about the early second. It's just a little early for the value, for the return for what you want for your team here.
I've got no Dart. Pre-draft process, I was between Shadur or Dart at the two before the NFL draft. I ended up going with Sanders over Dart, and it turns out we both were losers. The next pick was Dart at the 202, and I've got to say I'd rather take my shot on Sanders' upside over even Dart's there with the Giants.
Yeah, no, we'll touch on Sanders here in just a little bit, but yeah, I have those two ranked about the same. Shadur did have a higher floor than Jackson, but both would have been in your tier 5 if Shadur had his tier or his first
capital.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's not much to be thrilled about for Jackson Dart. You can see his comps here: Trace McSorley for passing, Joe Burrow for rushing. So at least the name pops off. There's some.
I don't think of Joe Burrow as a rusher.
No, you don't. So I guess there's going to be a knee injury.
That does not excite me.
Your first season here. And then overall comp score. This is what you want to look at here. Little Derek Carr. Like I said, good enough to keep your job, but bad enough that the fans are going to start resenting you, and especially fantasy owners. Like, a few years from now he'll be on waivers and he'll be a flyer for the week for you.
What I think is going to be interesting is Jalen Milroe versus Sam Darnold. It was only a few years back when Matt Flynn was beat out by Russell Wilson in the draft, and that was after Matt Flynn ended up getting a huge contract with the Seahawks. Well, they decided, Pete Carroll's like, you know what, I don't care about how much we're paying you. We end up getting a mid-round Russell Wilson in the draft, and he's showing up at training camp. We're going to have him as our starter. Do you think there's a chance that Jalen Milroe could do the same to Sam Darnold?
So you've been pushing this narrative since before the draft, man. That this was supposed to be Dylan Gabriel's spot.
It's supposed to be Dylan Gabriel, but now I had to switch it to Milroe.
So, Jalen Milroe, like, you could see his mobility. It's elite. We all knew that. He can run. He's probably one of the most athletic quarterbacks coming out of college. But you can see his passing score here. It's terrible, 12.8. When it comes to your mobility, your mobile quarterbacks that can run, you do
Great
need
Scott.
Great Scott, exactly.
Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott! Oh, great Scott! Great Scott!
Great Milroe. No, you need to have some passing. You need to be able to have some NFL passing when coming. You can't just rely on your legs because there's more that you need to do. You can't just dump it off. He fits in the profile. This is your Anthony Richardson style passing here. Elite running, but you can't pass. There's a lot of quarterbacks that came out like this. Malik Willis out of Tennessee. Same thing. I can see this profile and know that, especially with the draft capital, it's a possibility he can go in. I don't think they're going to rush him to do any starts.
No pun intended there with rush. But
yeah.
I think he fits the system pretty well. I think that's what the Seahawks are going to have to do is rush, because their offensive line was tied for the worst in the NFL last year. And we saw that Sam Darnold didn't do well when the line started to crack with Minnesota. So I, as a Vikings fan, feel that maybe Sam Darnold doesn't have a whole lot of pull and a whole lot of go here for the Seahawks, and it could be Milroe under center sooner than what you believe.
I don't know. The only thing I worry about is my shares of JSN. It's great to be able to rush, but I want him to throw the ball. I want to see those touchdowns, him and Cooper Kupp.
We've seen over and over again, like the narratives of like when poor quarterbacks come in or when there's newer quarterbacks that come in, they usually feed the wide receiver one for the team. And it's usually the wide receiver two and the rest of the receivers that tend to kind of falter off to the side. But usually the number one target is getting the targets regardless of how good the targets are.
Yeah, it's true. And those are manufactured targets. So I'm hoping that still happens. But I'm not expecting a ton from Jalen Milroe for his passing. I really want to see him sit for the first year and be able to develop those passing skills that he needs to hit the next level. But no, if he gets that, if he can figure that part out, then yeah, he'll be a great dynasty quarterback here. He is my number 3 in here. So it was a weaker class, but he can get the job done if given the opportunity and if he sits long enough. But yeah, I don't see him starting till near the end of the season, and that's if Sam Darnold starts to pull Sam Darnold.
Turns into a pumpkin.
Yeah. But yeah, 69.03%. So he is tier 6, and he is my number 1 QB in the tier 6, just because of his upside with the rushing. That's when it comes to fantasy. Yeah, you look for those quarterbacks that can produce on the ground. But I just worry about him with this passing. So having a passing score this low, it hasn't transitioned well to the NFL, and these type of quarterbacks don't last around too often.
So he could definitely be like a diamond in the rough compared to rough in the diamond with Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, you just want to give him a little. Yeah, give him some time. Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback darling of this draft.
I think this guy, he just needs to get some. Like they just need to give this guy some grace, I think, and let the kid develop.
So my model didn't love him. Like he was supposed to be in that Jackson Dart tier range, but the NFL didn't like him either. And I think it was more because of the baggage that he came with, not necessarily his skill on the field. But it's just the cockiness and the arrogance coming in and thinking that he's the greatest. You're a rookie. You need to earn it out there. So yeah, he did drop. Don't love his profile, but I think it's good enough to be able to get by, and I think it's going to be very interesting for this offseason. One thing to point out with him being drafted in the 5th round is that no fifth round rookie has ever won the start for any team in NFL history for the beginning of the season. So you could do history from what I've heard in camp, at least all the fanboys that are saying he's the greatest quarterback ever. And
I don't know what to believe. I think there's so much narratives that are getting thrown in the rounds. Like it's just a whirlwind, and you can't believe any of it right now. And this is a good lead into like, how do you filter through the fluff versus the real news?
It's OTAs. There's nobody's rushing. There's no contact. He's not playing with the first team. So there's a lot that you have to look at. Yeah, there's hope. And since it's the Browns, that's all you have is the hope out there. So yeah, it's nice that he dropped to you, but there's a reason why he dropped. It was like Sam Howell a couple years ago. He dropped as well. He wasn't high in my rankings either, and kind of went to where he should have gone. As for Sanders, yeah, he went a lot later than I thought, but yeah, you can see his passing score. So it's a solid passing score. So it's not terrible out there. One thing my mom looks for is the consistency. You can see his passing score. His best season was 2022. He had 105 score, but since then he dropped 32.8 and then 54.8, and just couldn't get back up to where he was. And like I said, you want to see the consistency of the quarterback, and you want to see them finish strong, because that's what translates to the NFL. So, yeah, he had the college experience. It just wasn't the quality college experience when he's out there. So, but 79.9, yeah, he'll be another flyer that can get it done. Even if he gets the start, he is going to be capped with what he can do. So you can see his comps here to Mitch Trubisky. So,
and just like Mitch Trubisky, he tends to get sacked.
He does. You can see last 2 years, 41 sacks in 2024, 49 sacks in 2023. So I knew he threw a lot out there, and there were a lot of manufactured targets that Sanders was doing to Travis Hunter, but it's he was still getting sacked. If you're getting sacked in college, believe me, you're going to be sacked in the NFL, and it just that's a good way to end your career early if you're not moving the ball.
Yep. And I know that your model's really looking at the sacks. I think it's interesting with college football, with when you get sacked, it becomes like a negative rushing stat.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought of like taking away some of the negative yardage and having that added in, or take at least leveled out so that way they're not having the negative rushing in regards to your mobility
Yeah.
score?
No, because I've already taken account to that into the passing score, because I take their entire passing score with and without sacks and have the average, so it already balances out that way. Because
Okay.
I want to give them the upside, but also need to take away as well if they're holding on to the ball too long and not doing what they need.
The
So
yin and the yang.
the yin and the yang. But
Gotcha.
yeah, the mobility though, it's solid mobility. So right about same, I think it was the same score as or close to with Cam Ward. I think Cam was in the solid as well, but yeah, no, he has the mobility to get around. He just needs to be smarter with the ball and get rid of it. So we'll have to wait until until preseason to see what he can actually do out there against these NFL teams.
Yeah, I see here with Shadur that his overall is Mac Jones. You know, I'm a under the rock fan of Mac Jones. I felt like he was kind of done dirty there a little bit more by the New England Patriots. Mac Jones was one that he was thinking for himself and not doing what the team wanted to do in regards to his ankle injury. They wanted to give him a tightrope surgery. He said no. He did some research and decided that he didn't want to have the tightrope surgery. He was forced back within like 2 games, I think, of having a very high ankle sprain. Looked terrible after having that ankle problem. And then it just seemed like the Patriots just kind of gave up on him after that point.
Mac Jones, coming out, yeah, he was a tier 6 for me. His was just the readiness to be out there. Just mentally, I don't think he was ready, and that's kind of what my model looks at as well. It's just the readiness to be out there and be able to perform the job of the NFL quarterback.
But I think that's why the Patriots got him at like pick 15. You know, I think the readiness was kind of part of that. It was like it was the middle round of the first round when he was drafted. And it sounded like Shanahan wanted to get him from the start. And now he's actually on the 49ers. And I had a narrative thinking that maybe Mac Jones was going to take Purdy's job.
No,
But
you had
now
me
that
believing
we
it.
know that didn't happen. Purdy ended up getting the contract that I thought was way too high for him. In fact, he got a little bit more on top of it. So they're all in on Purdy. But Mac Jones is definitely a good backup quarterback for the league. If something was to happen to Purdy, they can just plug him right in.
No, he's a great backup. Last year with Jacksonville, he had the job. He got the job done, and he continued to get the targets to Brian Thomas for your fantasy points. Mac can get it done if he needs to.
And then the quarterback that was drafted ahead of Sanders with the Browns, Dylan Gabriel. We love Dylan Gabriel. I think I loved when they drafted him in the 3rd round. I didn't like that they drafted a second quarterback just 2 rounds later with Sanders.
So yeah, no, Dylan Gabriel, he was my yeah. We both really liked. I know we went back and forth until
you had Gabriel at your number 4 spot. I had him at number 5 pre-draft. So we were definitely higher than consensus on Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, I was waiting to see what the NFL thought of him, because if he could have had 1st round draft capital, he would have been in my tier 4. And you can tell that by his passing score of 89.1 and his great mobility of 83.8. But it was all about what did the NFL think, and his almost 6 foot or right at 6 foot height and guess not elite arm, like it made him drop to the 3rd, but still a good pick. It is going to be interesting seeing him and Shadur go up against each other this summer here and see who can get that top spot for the next in line. But yeah, I was also disappointed when I saw Shadur go to the Browns as well, because I wanted to have Gabriel that opportunity to be the top dog in that system.
That would have been
But
really neat to see.
yeah, he is an Oregon quarterback, so they seem to do fairly well once they get in the NFL. So it's going to be a fun off season here, and I do plan on putting an article together for the Fantasy Holics, Gabriel versus Sanders. So we're just getting through the OTAs right now, but I have something in plan that I'm going to be writing about. Both quarterbacks are fairly.
Where can we find that article at, Zach?
That will be at fancyholics.com. And I will be posting it on my X account once I get that out. So just keep an eye out for that. I don't know when I'm getting it up. I've been pretty busy lately, but I will be writing it and posting it here. But I think that's gonna be a fun matchup to watch this summer. Both deserve a shot at the number one spot, but having each other on the same team, that just is somebody's going to be left out, and you know how the fans are going to be.
I wish Hard Knocks was at the Browns this year,
that
just to see what the heck are they doing.
That would be great. No, it's either your team Sanders or Team Gabriel, so it's going to be a good one to watch.
I couldn't help but notice that the overall score was Drake May, and I find it a little bit funny that we both love Dylan Gabriel, but I know that you don't really care as much for Drake May's profile.
I think the reason why, if Drake May was drafted in the second, I'd probably love him. It's more value for me. Like, you're a top 3 pick and you're limited with your upside. That's just not a quarterback I want on my dynasty teams and to believe in. I know you have a lot of Drake May fanboys and believers out there. I just right now I just think he's worth. He isn't worth the price that you need to pay. So if you do have him on your team, I would ship him out, get a ton for him, and not have to worry about if he does well or not.
So it's more about the cost with Drake May, more so than his actual profile. So it's more like ADP matters.
Yeah, no, I think right now he's I think it's QB7 on Keep Trade Cut, and
wow, he has no receiving weapons.
Yeah, no, the thing is, like, the 7 that are in front of him, he's never going to pass him. So that's the ceiling right there, if that's going to be it. And everyone has him over players like Bo Nix. So Bo Nix, I think, was QB8 last year, and everybody's putting him ahead already, putting a guy that hasn't done it because they believe that he can do it over someone that has done it and could probably do it again, especially with Bo Nix with his first 4 to 5 starts last year in fantasy. So, but yeah, no, Drake May, if he was drafted later, I'd probably love the dude, but just as a value, it just I don't like it, and I like to stay away from that style of player.
I know you've taken over a few orphans in my fantasy leagues, and you know some of the targets you were going after were Bo Nix and also Michael Penix versus a guy like Drake.
Yeah, no, they're just I can buy those two for a lot less, and I think one of the leagues actually had Drake May, and I think it was a league that I was with our buddy Zach from Wide Receiver One Room. We ended up trading Drake May and a few other assets I can't remember, but we ended up getting the 101. We got back Bryce Young, who I am a believer in this year, and a few other players. But this was a complete rebuild. Like, we were tearing it all down, so we were trying to move around as many players as possible here. But yeah, he was one, but we ended up moving on, and we didn't get Bo Nix or Penix because the teams that had him didn't want to trade those guys. But yeah, I was able to get some good value out of trading away Drake May. The other ones, though, 2 other leagues that I'm in with you. Yeah, I did trade for Bo Nix. That was my main target. He's actually the only quarterback.
You had some good trades that went through to get him too. It wasn't like you had to pay a lot for him.
No,
I was very surprised because I thought the hype was out there, and you still got him at a relatively good price.
Yeah, no, it's the eye of the beholder. So, like, another man's trash is another man's treasure, I guess. So, like, it wasn't a low deal I got him for. It was a I guess you could say it's a fair deal. Wasn't a great deal for the purse, but like I traded a first and in one league and some other stuff. I think it was a 104 and I don't remember. But
Yeah, it was one of
then,
four plus a couple of smaller assets in order to get Bo Nix, and that was
yeah.
in a super flex league. So I felt like that was a huge win on your part, and it's going to completely shape your dynasty team in that league with that Bo Nix trade.
Oh yes, and especially since that's a best ball as well.
That's the
So
best ball.
I can just sit back and be happy. On the other league, your Medusa league, I traded away Caleb Williams and a few other assets, whatever, and I ended up getting Bo Nix and Penix. I had a first in there, and I think I traded in up four players, but yeah, I only had one really starting quarterback at that point, and was able to turn it into two. So that was my first move.
Well, I think
But
that
yeah,
just shows, like, especially if you pick up an orphan team, or if you're playing in Dynasty, you've got to be active and you've got to like just keep grinding. You're sending these trades out, you're
oh yeah,
communicating through the league chat, you're letting people know, like, hey, I'm here to, build a fantasy team, and I'm willing to move assets, I'm willing to make trades, and that's how you're going to win fantasy. You've got to make these moves. You've got to be active, and you've got to keep your ears on the ground in order to pick up guys off the waivers that may or may not hit, and be
oh
ready to
yeah.
churn them.
No, it's always about making team better. Every little move you make, it's even if it's someone small that's going to be on your bench, eventually, like it could be a value pick, and that's usually my strategy is I get all these value players, and then I can actually trade up later on with the from those players and move on to something better. But always trying to move these guys around.
Yep, I got to circle back one more time here. You had said that you believe in Bryce Young this year. I've been oftentimes kind of poo-pooing Bryce Young since he's come out as a rookie. Can you like change my mind? Like how is he going to make the step forward?
Yeah. So yeah, going into last season, I think everybody was out on him. You could have picked him up for a fourth round if you really wanted to at that point. But yeah, my the model showed that he was a tier 3 quarterback. So it's not your elite quarterbacks, but tier 3 can get it done and get you some good points. But yeah, he was ready for the NFL. I think the Panthers just had a really rough team, and there was just so much going on with the team and changes and personnel trying to for him to get the ball to and everything. But what really sold me on him was he was benched and everybody thought his career was over. And the way he turned it around, was able to get back in the later half of the year and actually be fantasy relevant. So the team believes in him. They've gotten some weapons with Ted McMillan out there, and I just think that he's not going to be your top quarterbacks out there, but I think he's going to be a cheap option that you can get that can get the job done and get you those points for something cheap. So,
Yep. So you're saying like a solid quarterback too, then?
yeah, no, definitely a solid quarterback too. He has quarterback 1 upside, but no, I think his floor this year will be QB2.
And then also one more rookie from this class. I'll have you pull it up here. Is a guy that the Raiders decided to take a flyer on late in this the rookie draft. Tell us a little bit about this guy.
Yeah, so this is Cam Miller. So it was even a surprise to me. So I didn't have Cam Miller on my in my rankings pre draft. You can see projected NA at the top here. This is normally a quarterback that these teams don't really look at. Plus, he wasn't even at the combine, so why would I have him as part of my model? So on draft day, he was probably the biggest shock that I saw come out. And it was more shock. I thought this was more shocking than Shadur falling or even Tyler Shuck being drafted in the second round. So, but yeah, Cam Miller, this wasn't impressed with the pick when the Raiders took him. But
Well,
with him
especially after was he the first or was he the second quarterback they drafted within 3 picks? I think he was the
yeah,
second.
he was the second. The other was Tommy
Mallet?
Mallet. So yeah, and he was. I saw him when he came out. Yeah, that was just as shocking. Especially
I didn't even know who he was.
Was he South Dakota or Montana? I think was it Montana.
I think
I know,
Mallet
but
was
I know him. I know.
Mallet was Montana, and then they're converting him to wide receiver, is what I heard.
Yeah, so that was the one thing I had to research, because you got these two guys, and he's going to I guess your hybrid style player. So he could be your what's that tight end?
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill. Yeah, he'll be your Taysom Hill style. So yeah, he's very athletic, and but I think he's going to be more of a gadget style player. But as for Cam Miller, yeah, he was drafted. I didn't have him as part of my rankings, and had no idea what the NFL would have thought of him, if just as what's his name, Trey Lance and Carson Wentz both went to NDSU, and they were the talk of the NFL. Both drafted in the first round, and that's all that anybody talked about during those drafts. But like Cam Miller, nobody was talking about him. But yeah, he was drafted. I was shocked, and what was more impressive,
I didn't even have any stats on him in my. I had to look back here in my Excel. I just had North Dakota State. It's at the bottom, and I don't have any stats. I don't have age. I don't have height. I don't have how much did he weigh, hand size, nothing. I had absolutely nothing. And with Tommy Mallet, I had even less. I didn't even have the team that he was with. I just had his name.
Yeah, so I had stats at least. I didn't have the peripherals. But one thing that impressed me with Cam Miller is not about Cam Miller. It's what Tom Brady thought of him. So this was actually Tom Brady's pick, and it's the only pick he had, only player he had any say in was Cam Miller. So with that happening, that's the GOAT right there. And if he's believing in him, then I have to give Cam some credit here and put him in the mix here and actually look at him. So his draft capital says he's a tier 7, just because he drafted near the end of the final
6th round, I think.
Yeah, 6.39. Yeah, 6.39. So yeah, drafted in the bottom of the 6th, and with quarterbacks drafted that late, typically they don't have really a shot. But if they do, that's when you have your Brock Purdy's. You had Tom Brady's drafted late, so you have to give him a chance here. And when you look at his stats, this is what blew me away. So yeah, he had solid passing of an 83.3, but he also had elite rushing ability, 121. Great Scott.
He got the Great Scott score.
So he had the Great Scott score. So yeah, he's able to move around and pass the ball. So like, if this was a round 1 quarterback, he'd be probably, I don't know, I haven't put him in as round 1. He'd probably be a tier 1 or tier 2 quarterback at this point here. It's just what does the NFL think of him? I don't know what his actual talent is, his arm strength. I have heard that he has a really fast release, which is great, and which NFL coaches look for. So he has tools there. And then I think this will be exciting to see. But yeah, 83.3, solid score, elite rushing score. The only thing that's gonna hold him back would be that draft capital and the opportunities. But if given the opportunity, then I would be all over him. You can look at his comps here. So this is what's the craziest stats were his comps. Wasn't expecting this. So passing score to Russell Wilson. Yeah, Russell Wilson coming out of college was I thought was more known for his passing than his rushing ability. He did great with his rushing in the NFL. Not so much anymore, but his passing ability is up there. Rushing ability, right to Lamar Jackson. I don't think he's as fast as Lamar, but that mobility and being able to get out of the pocket and make a play from nothing into something. I feel that he can do that. And then the overall score is Dak Prescott. So Dak was another later round quarterback that he was given the opportunity and he took over that Dallas position his rookie year, and hasn't looked back. So he's had some injuries, but there is a pathway to Cam Miller's success, and it's someone now that's going to cost you nothing to get. You don't even have to worry about getting him in your at least not until this podcast is over, but right now you can get him as a waiver pickup. Nobody's drafting him. And he's available in probably 90+% of the other leagues out there. So,
well, and Zach, I know you're putting your money where your mouth is too, because I know I have here a question for you, like players that you're not leaving your dynasty draft without. Like, you're not drafting this guy, but you're definitely picking him up on the waivers the second it goes through. I've seen you pick him up, and you may have him in all three. Well, you get him in 2 of the 3 because the one league we haven't drafted yet.
Yeah, no, I have him. Why not take a late flyer on someone with this profile? If he doesn't work out, it costs me a waiver spot. If he does work out, then I look like a genius because I got him on the waivers. I had a few years ago, I didn't draft Puka, but I ended up taking Puka in on my waivers, and I'm looking like a genius, and I've won 2 years in a row in my home league. So it's these type of players that can win you a championship.
So who's that player this year that you're trying to get in all of your dynasty drafts that you're not leaving your dynasty leagues without?
And during the draft?
Yeah. So you're drafting, it's later on in the draft, maybe 3rd, 4th round. Like, what's a guy that you're like, I can't leave this draft without getting him?
Okay. I was going to say Tootin, but he's been a 2nd rounder. But no, 3rd round that I've gotten in all my drafts has been Kyle Fannin. Kyle Fannin Jr., that is.
Harold Fannin.
Who did I just say?
Kyle.
That was my old babysitter's brother's name.
Yeah,
Harold Fannin. Harold Fannin.
Yeah.
I know the last name. No, his profile coming out of college was awesome coming out of Bowling Green. Actually, I started making a tight end model as well, and I think Bowers is the only quarter or tight end that's ahead of him in it. So it is still in the beta phase. I'm testing it this year, but no, I have him as my number 1. He has all the upside, but from what I've been reading up and listening to from Brown's camp is that he's been actually running with the first team offense already. So that's something to keep an eye on. I know he has a long way to go, especially with Njoku in front of him, and he's only a rookie and he's on the Browns. But no, it's a 3rd round, and if he's still there, I've been jumping on him, and I think I've actually drafted him in all but like 1 league or so far.
Yep. Well, and Harold Fannin Jr. too. Like, he goes to a team in the Browns. They don't have a lot of receiving weapons. And so they could easily have Njoku, they could have him, and they could have Judy on the field all at the same time.
Yeah, it's someone to look out for. And he's one like I'm not putting on my taxi, but I'm having him in my lineup and waiting to be able to plug him in when I can. I'm not going to start him week 1. I want to watch and see.
Right. Well, tight ends develop a lot of times too, but we've been we've just been really lucky the last couple of years that we've had a few hits that have actually been plug and chug.
No, it's been incredible. It's been after McBride. So McBride, everybody thought was going to be what the last 2 years have been, but McBride, I have him in 1 league because someone dropped him because
the first year he was injured.
Yeah, no, there was nothing happening with him. But last 2 years with Bowers and Detroit.
You got
Sam Laporta. Like that's unexpected. They're rookies. Usually it's the 3rd years when you start seeing these guys come together. So we'll see if it's 3 years in a row, especially with Loveland and Warren out there as well. They're supposed to be really good. And then your boy Ferguson, the Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier himself.
Winter Soldier. So there's a lot of.
I'm still really high on him, and it's probably just like excessive at this point.
I don't know. Once you get your guy, it's hard to come off him unless they prove you otherwise.
Yep. And even then, it's hard to move on.
You
can't take your L's too early.
So, but no, it's going to be it'll be a fun season. And, but yeah, Harold Fannin Jr., that was my must-have guy, especially in the third round. There was a big drop-off from about at the end of the second to the final, to the fourth of rookie drafts. There's just not too many guys out there that I really want to put on my team. I want to put the players that have the upside and that are going to give me the best chance to get another championship.
All right. Well, I've got one more question here for you, Zach. And basically, as we look forward to this coming season and then even going into 2026 rookie drafts, I know you've already started to look ahead at the quarterbacks that may be coming out in 2026. I'll have you just spend just a quick second and just kind of share some of the names that we should be looking forward to as the college football season starts to kick off here in only a couple months. We're already through the mid part of June. So, August, we're going to start seeing some of these quarterbacks play. Like who are some of the quarterbacks that you're looking at going into 2026 and comparing them with your model?
So yeah, this is something I'm really starting to follow this year. I've had my model that shows, are they ready for the NFL? But I kind of want to get to the beginning of that journey and start trying to find these profiles of the quarterbacks that are going to be your top players later. For next year, to look out for, my number one quarterback on here is Cade Klubnik. He's already 3-year seasons, going to his fourth year. As of now, with his passing score, he's already at a great passing score and solid mobility, and he has room to grow for the year. So he has potential to be a tier 1 quarterback next year. So he's one I'm most excited to see for the season. Other guys out there, you can see the seasons in the third column here. My next 2 quarterbacks for the rankings, which nobody I've seen has on their radar yet, is Avery Johnson. Like I said, I'm new at looking at college quarterbacks, but based on his profile, 2 years, he's already at a solid passing score, and he's already an elite rusher as well. So I think in 2 years, Avery Johnson is going to be a name that we all listen for. So I do want to come back to this year and see how accurate I am, because if I'm making mistakes on here, I want to make sure that I'm correcting my algorithm and knowing who to look for. But as of now, with the Model Cs, it's projected that direction. Same with Sam Levitt. Right now, he is an inconsistent passer, but he's also 2 years, which even with an inconsistent score, that's still pretty good for only 2 years. And that's only 17 games as well. He's also a great rusher, and I think there's a lot of rankings out there that has Sam in the top tier. Next year, another guy that could come out though for next year's draft is John Mateer. He just transferred to Oklahoma, and from I think with Jalen Hurts was on Oklahoma. There's a couple others. These guys that came in Oklahoma were the ones to pop out and actually have a good season. But his mobility score, he's another elite rusher, and you're seeing a lot of this now, is these elite and great rushers out there coming out of college. So if this is the trend of the NFL, we're going to want it with those great and elite rushers. We're going to look for at least a solid passing score for all these players. So,
well, I think the difference too here is that all these guys are having the NIL deals and they're staying in the college a lot longer. So now they're going to have more time to develop as a passer in college and hopefully be more NFL ready when they do come out for the NFL draft.
Yeah, that makes the competition years from now tougher for these guys, but I think that's better for these players. These are young guys that are getting paid early, and then they're out of the league and they're broke afterwards because they think they're going to stay in the league. But yeah, these NIL deals, stay in college, they get developed, they get paid. So now they're not having to rush to the NFL. And then when they do get to the NFL, they're actually ready and able to take over a team. But yeah, John Mateer, he's another one that's projected upwards. And then Sawyer Robinson, he's a solid passing score and great mobility already. So, but those are my top 3 to look at. You can even see
I couldn't help but notice that Arch Manning being number 7, and I'm looking over at his passing stats or category, and he's in like the terrible range. Like, is this a concern for you? As everyone seems to be really hyped about Arch Manning. Is he coming out in 26? Is he coming out in 27?
Yeah, so I don't see him coming out next year. I actually wrote an article about Arch on Twitter on X that you can check out. But it was what Arch Manning has to do in order to be to become a tier 1 quarterback, just based off his current score. And he would have to have the most amazing season that anyone has ever seen. I think it was like 60 touchdowns and like the most ridiculous score ever, which I don't like. There's no way that he's going to get. But even if he hits an elite season this year, he's still going to be in I think a tier 4 or so for a quarterback coming out next season. But I think he has 2 more seasons in him in college. He only has 8 games, and that's part of the reason why you see terrible score right now. You just don't have enough games out there to be able to do anything. The one thing that actually I was surprised about was his mobility score. So he's already at a great mobility of 106.3. And like I said, that's what you want with your quarterback, someone that's going to be that's mobile and has the good arm. So Arch definitely is the profile, at least the projection to be elite. He has the name, he has the pedigree, but I want to. Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think the best thing for him, and I hope his uncle's getting his ear about it to stay 2 years in college, especially with these NIL deals. I really want to see him be a top quarterback this year, stay in college, and then finish an elite season for his final season. But that's how he's going to become.
And then get drafted by the Saints.
Get
drafted.
drafted.
And wears Grandpa's jersey.
Yeah, but I think if he comes out next year, I don't think he's going to be the number 1 quarterback. I just think there's going to be better options out there if I was a team. But 2 years from now, there's no reason why he can't be the number 1 overall pick. Especially you got the name, you have the talent. We just want to see the production on the field.
All right, Zach. Well, this has been an excellent time with you here. I really thank you for joining us here again for the Fantasy Football Healers. I look forward to looking and reading at your article that you had there on Arch. We can find that at Tier 1 QB on Twitter X. Don't forget to follow me at FF Healers on Twitter X. And we'll definitely be looking for also the Shooter Sanders and Dylan Gabriel with the fantasyholics.com.
Right. No, I really appreciate it, Dustin. It's been fun. Hope we can do this again soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Have a happy Father's Day also to you, Zach.
Happy Father's Day to you, man.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.